Hello, my name is Caleb Hendricks, and this is my comprehensive project over our tutoring this semester. Before I get started and go into some of the activities that we did this semester and some of the different things that we tried as a group, I wanted to just focus on or go over my group a little bit and talk about how it worked just in the beginning. I had 3 girls and 1 boy, and I found these kids in a Read Live program. I work as a para at an elementary school right now, and these were kids that were selected for additional help and additional support with literacy assistance. It's a cool program that they were in, and they were directed to me as potential kids that would benefit from something like this. So I brought them into my program, and the way that our schedule worked was kind of different because rather than it being after school, I coach football, so I wasn't really able to do it after school. And so my cooperating teachers, my mentor teachers, worked around that schedule and around their schedule, and I was actually able to get them for an hour during the day on the days that I needed to record. And so I was really lucky and fortunate to be able to do that. I've already talked to those teachers and thanked them for the opportunity that they gave me to do that. So it was really cool to be able to interact with them during the course of the school day and kind of in their natural environment instead of bringing them in after school and where it might not be as authentic. But to get into some of the stuff that we did, the first few lessons were the PE integration, and right off the bat, the kids really seemed to enjoy that. And some of the things I think stood out to me about these kids were they were more athletically inclined for the most part as it was. I didn't have the most artistic kids or musically interested kids. They were athletes for the most part, and so I think that helped the PE integration activities because it was things that they enjoyed. We did a Wheel of Affixes activity, which they would spin a wheel and they'd have to come up with words that used specific affixes, whether it was prefix or suffix that we were working on that day. And if they didn't get it in a certain amount of time, then they would draw a card, and the whole group would have to do that exercise. And they really enjoyed that when they would ask later on if we could play that game again. And so that was fun to see them get engaged with that one. Another one that they enjoyed was a vocabulary game that we did, where if they matched the words correctly, they would get to take a jump. And so they would all start at a starting line, and if they got it correctly, they would get to take a jump forward. And then if they didn't get it, they'd stay with that, and the other kid, if they got it, he would jump forward. And you'd see at the end of all the word reviews how far the kids were, and they would see who won. And like I said, with them being athletic, I think some of the competitive activities were right up their alley, and that was just kind of meeting the interests of the kids. As far as assessment scores, this was when I had my highest assessment scores, the activities that we did during this time. And I truly believe that because some of the PE integration had a little bit to do with that, just because, like I said, it was things that they enjoyed doing. The next set of stuff that we did were the music integration stuff. This was probably the hardest for me to plan for, just because, as just me personally, I'm not as interested in music, and so I wanted to try and come up with some great activities for them, try and push myself a little bit as well as push them. We did a couple where we just listened to popular music. We did a music compare and contrast activity where we'd listen to 2 songs and compare how they were similar and different, whether it be the style of the music, what the music was saying. And this was a great way to work on compare and contrast skills. We also did a writing activity where we used inspirational music before to try and get them in the right mindset with what they were doing. And that one was okay, but I didn't feel like the music really enhanced the lesson all that much. It really was just more of a writing activity, so if I could go back and change that one, I would. And the one that I ended up using for my formal observation was the verb tenses activity. And we watched a video about verbs, and it was the song on verbs, the Schoolhouse Rock song on verbs. And that one was the one where I felt like I had the most hands-on instruction with the kids. I felt like the group discussion we had, the individual work that we had, really all went well together, and I think it helped them better understand the different verb tenses. And so I picked that one as my formal observation just because I felt like the grasp that the kids had on the content, as well as my effectiveness with the instruction that I gave for that lesson. And that was another one where our assessment scores were very high. And so that all kind of worked well together to kind of see, it was positive for me to see that a lesson where I was doing a lot of the instruction paid off in a way that impacted their scores in a positive way. And then the last set that we did was the art integration. And as I was making the lessons for the art integration, I could tell that there would be a little more hands-off from me, just because the learning was a lot more independent and it was a deeper level of learning to where the kids would have to kind of take that next step with what they took away from the lesson. Just the way that a lot of the Bloom's taxonomy verbs, it's a lot of go the extra mile with learning. It's not just to recall or understand. It wants you to enhance your learning and go a little deeper. And so a lot of that came from them pushing themselves and trying to better understand things. We did one reading activity where we tried to make connections to our life. That was the race questions that we did. The race format that we use, they use it in the 5th grade room that I work in, and so to be able to use it with them in this environment was fun. So it's recite the question, answer, and then cite from the book, and then explain. And that's the race format that we worked on, and I felt like it was good to see them with that deeper level of thinking in a lesson that I had put together, and that was encouraging for me to be able to help them get to that point. Another activity that we did was the thankfulness turkeys. We made turkeys. We didn't do just the normal hand turkeys, like we actually cut out the turkeys. I should have got a picture of them, but we cut the feathers, and then we would write a sentence on it, a full sentence on each feather of things that we were thankful for. And then instead of it just being one feather, it would fold, and you could open it up, and we said why we were thankful for that. So it wasn't just the surface. We kind of went beyond, and we talked about why we were thankful for those things. And it fit perfectly because it was a couple weeks before Thanksgiving. And that was another thing at the end that I enjoyed, was being able to integrate Halloween and Thanksgiving into the lessons. I think back to when I was in school, and that happened a lot. My teachers did a great job of incorporating those things into our lessons, and I think that just enhanced the learning and helped us as kids stay more engaged with what was going on. And then, so that was kind of the gist of a lot of the lessons that we did. And so one other thing that I just wanted to talk about as far as my experience with this program was the opportunities that my role as a para allowed me to do with this. One thing that I was able to do with a couple of these kids was work in their guided reading groups, and to be able to see them not in the group but in the classroom working on similar skills that we worked on, that was really fun for me to see the grasp that they had outside in the classroom along with the rest of their peers. I was very fortunate at times to be able to sub for the teachers and kind of take over their lesson. So I was teaching someone else's lesson rather than just mine, and I thought that was a great experience. I also had access to the kids' STAR testing, their reading score, comprehension testing scores, and those I think helped me a little bit just in understanding where the kids were at a deeper level rather than just the assessments that I had given the students during my time in the lessons. I talked about the Read Live. That was another great resource for some of the kids that were struggling to get the additional help that they needed. And being able to interact with my mentor teachers just throughout the course of the day and kind of pick their brains on different ideas to come up with activities for kids to do. I was very thankful for that, and for them helping me just demonstrate, this is what a Dibbles assessment looks like. This is how you should conduct it and go about administering this assessment with the kids. And same for the QPS. I just felt like I had a lot of great people around me helping me out during that, and so I was very thankful for that as well. But all in all, I really enjoyed this experience, and I think that it definitely helped me grow as an educator, and a lot of the activities that I came up with during the program, I can definitely see myself using in the future. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and that is all.